Welcome to Automation Hunter, the podcast for entrepreneurs and businesses ready to scale smarter. In this series, Apps, Hacks, and Bounties, your host, Will Christensen, dives into game-changing tools and strategies alongside special guests, sharing insights to boost productivity and solve real business challenges. Ready to innovate? Let's dive in.
All right, everybody, welcome to this episode of Automation Hunter. This is the first of a series that we're going to be doing, their reaction videos to new apps in the market. And specifically, these are apps that I find early on in their journey and then become mainstream. And I'm generally part of that journey and like introducing a lot of people to them. And I often meet really cool people like Richard when he's got like 10 active users. I don't even know. How many active users was it back when we were hanging out?
That's good. You know, it was higher than that, but you're not too far off. Yeah.
Not too far. Let me put it this way. He was very happy to hear from a user who was willing to give his time to expand a little bit because there weren't that many users who were willing to talk on the phone and kind of talk through that. And I gave of my time, was excited about that. And I remember the first question I asked you, and this is kind of where I want to go. I said, how in the world is this going to stay free? There's no way. Like you are providing too much value. I know server costs. Like this is not a free thing you're providing. How are you going to do that? Do you remember what you told me?
I don't remember exactly. I would go back to our Fathom recording to find that out. But the thesis hasn't changed, which is, we actually think we can drive down costs pretty significantly at scale. And we think there's a secondary product we can sell on top of this to managers and leadership and stuff like that. And so we can afford to give away this product for free to folks on meetings because, it's lead gen to, help your boss or manager or founder, et cetera, some way.
Yeah. The direct quote, I'll quote you. Okay, I'll never forget it. You said, my investors understand that this is a long-term play. And we also understand that once we get a solid amount of adoption, that there's an opportunity, and you explained both of those opportunities that you just explained to me. So that, and the funny thing is I've told that story again to probably hundreds of people when they've asked me like, what's this like Fathom thing? What is this? And then their favorite thing to ask me is it live streaming this? And I always smile and say, no, it's not live streaming it. It is live streaming it to my Notetaker. So it's just getting a higher quality copy of it. And they're like, oh, okay. But it's a constant thing.
We had to put a thing on the homepage. It still exists today. It's like, yes, it is free, and here's how, that it explains kind of our business model. Because I think a lot of folks after 10 years of tech companies kind of, if it's too good to be true, it definitely was in the past, right? You were the product type of thing, right? There's a lot of like, what do you do with my data? Like, no, like we're not doing anything with your data. Like we just think we can give this away for free, right? We think it creates a lot of goodwill, and then it lets it spread quickly. And it's a more traditional, actually, business model for Silicon Valley. But it got, I think, understandably, people were nervous about it. So we had to like really explain it to folks. So you didn't think we were doing anything nefarious. I think it's worked out almost as advertised, right? My investors did get restless at times. Like, we're giving a lot away for free. And I was like, yeah, but that's the point. Plan. That's the point.
This was part of the plan to begin with.
You signed off on this.
Okay, Richard, show me the product. And sure. And as you're opening that up, tell me a little bit about why you started this.
Yeah, I mean, we started the company in 2020. I was, I think like a lot of folks on a lot of Zoom meetings in 2020. And I think also like a lot of folks, talking to someone and taking notes at the same time is not my favorite thing to do. I find it stressful. I'm always worried I'm going to miss something. And I think more importantly, I'm a pretty good note taker. I'm pretty good at that. Like I think a lot of us are. We've spent years perfecting that craft of like rapidly switching between talking and listening and writing and whatnot. Never enjoyed the process, but I'd also look at my notes show like 2 weeks later and be like, I don't remember this call, right? I don't remember exactly what was said and whatnot. So that was one side. My background's engineering, but I also, at my last startup, I ran like the sales team for about a year. And I looked on the other side of like consuming people's notes about things, like trying to understand meetings and conversations I wasn't in, and just realized like notes are terrible for that too, right? I constantly had people that wrote me too many notes or not enough notes. And even when they were really good notes, I still found myself constantly saying, gosh, I wish I could just watch that 30-second interaction between you and that prospect, or you and that customer, or you and that teammate, right? And so we just saw this from multiple angles in 2020, and we really just thought, gosh, wouldn't it be great if we just had a note taker in every meeting? And we had this pretty strong hypothesis that like transcription was going to get a lot cheaper than it was, and AI was going to get really good. And no one wants a transcript, but like you'll need a transcript to do the cool stuff with AI. And so that was kind of how we got started. I actually, if you want me to demo, I found our first conversation from over 2 years ago.
Do it.
So we'll
pull it
this
up
real quick.
Here it goes.
All right.
Hey, my hair, I've grown my beard. I've gained a little weight. I mean, this is a blast from the past right here.
You look great. This is both of you.
Hey, well, that's actually pretty funny. It only lasted 8 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting.
Yeah. High value, man. We don't need 30 minutes. We're able to. Yeah. So this is Fathom. And so I think, it's funny when I demo, we have other features. We have things you can use in the meeting to tells you when you're monologuing and, allows you to highlight moments in the meeting. But I always really just start here because this is what you want. You get this within about 30 seconds of the meeting ending. And what is it, right? It's the entire recording of the call. It's a full transcript, but you don't really need the transcripts anymore. And critically, it's like this really good set of notes that the AI wrote for you about the meeting.
Yeah.
What I really love about these notes that I think pretty unique to us is you see they're all links because they can click into any one of these notes and get back to that part of the meeting. And that's a key thing for us. I didn't want to just make a system that generate notes because, again, I don't think notes are actually the right artifact, right? They're, like I said, they're you're taking 8 minutes of content and boiling it down to a couple bullet points. What I want to use notes for is the table of contents. Let me find that conversation that you and I had, 2.5 years ago and find that moment and rewatch it again. Or a lot of times I'm doing a follow-up meeting with someone from just 2 weeks ago. And I just go in here before the meeting, scan the notes, click on a few things, and immediately my brain's like, yep, I remember this conversation exactly.
Yep. So one thing I want to point out as well, because I love this platform, click that extract action items button for me. By the way, when you actually opened that up, like when I saw this at first, I about wet my pants. I was so excited to see it there, because my dream as someone with ADHD was to find a way, and I apologize if that's hooked up to ClickUp or whatever else, and we just threw random 3-year-old tasks to you, because that's what happens in mine. When you click that button and they get generated, they all go straight to Zapier, and then Zapier picks them up and puts them into my assistant's inbox. She goes through each one, double checks them, and moves forward. And I found that we're at 80 to 90% accurate right now. We're still missing 1 to 2 in 10 of the things that are coming through there, but for the most part, it's nailing it, which I'm super excited about.
Yeah, as I mentioned, we built this business before AI really got there, and we expected AI to get there. And it really kind of got there last fall with GPT-4, where AI can now write notes better than most people. And it can do action items. I think there's still a little room to grow on the action item things you pointed out. We err on the side of not including false positives as opposed to false negatives for all of our AI stuff. But there's my one friend tries to talk about AIs like they're people where it's like, 3 years ago we had basically middle schoolers. GPT-4 is like a college freshman. The next iteration is going to be probably like a PhD student, right? Sort of thing. So we'll get there pretty quickly. But yeah, so you get the full notes, you get the action items. You can actually highlight parts of the meeting like I did here. So I grabbed this 35-second clip of you actually giving me some feedback on the product. I took that clip, I sent that off to my team, and I'm pretty sure we made some changes based upon that, right? So I don't need my team to watch the entire meeting, but I was like, here, go watch this section of Will getting confused in the onboarding process. That helps improve that. So thank you. The other cool thing is we got this new feature here, Ask Fathom, where it's really like a chat GPT interface for the meeting that you can just ask any questions of it, right?
What version of GPT is it using? Is it 3.5 Turbo or?
So we actually use a mix of, everyone's like, which, do you use OpenAI, do you use Anthropic? And the answer is yes. We use all of them. In fact, in any given single thing, we're using multiple providers. So some stuff we use like Gemini Flash, a lot of stuff is Quad Sonnet 3.5, some stuff is GPT-4o Mini. I can chat. This is why I feel like the transcripts become kind of irrelevant. I don't really go to the transcript anymore. I either go to my summary, or if I have a specific question, I go to Ask Fathom. What was your biggest product feedback? Here it is. And then again, we always bring you back to that.
Here's where it was. Yeah. So it's interesting that you mentioned that. The transcript part is actually one of the places that I focus a lot of time on.
Oh, interesting.
Okay. And there's 2 reasons for that. You may or may not know this, but on a mobile device, if I go there on my main page, the 3 little dots don't actually give me a copy the link button, which drives me bonkers. It literally drove me so crazy that I made a video it's another video on our YouTube channel. You can, however, click the transcript button in there. And if you click the transcript button, there's that copy transcript link, and it includes the link that's in there. So if I'm trying to pass that on to a teammate and I'm mobile, because that's a common request, I'm mobile and I got to get that over there, I can grab it from there. But for some reason, even on this page on the mobile, there's no copy the share link button.
That's good to know. We're doing a light redesign of this page and a big emphasis is making it better on mobile. So
nice.
It should get fixed, but I'll double check that afterwards.
Yeah. It drove me crazy. And you may want to check on the feedback system over there, because I've given that feedback a couple of times and it doesn't seem like it made it over. but I understand there's like a ginormous list of things to do.
Yeah, we're aware. It's just, if anyone listening to this podcast is a full stack engineer that likes doing Rails, please give me a call. One other thing I should call out on this page. This is actually an older call, so we don't have it, but on all new calls, we actually this is like one of, I think, the secret features most folks don't know about yet. It's pretty new. So we've got 12 different types of kind of note templates, right? We've got like sales specific ones, customer success 101s, et cetera. But my favorite is you can now basically pop this up and you can actually give the AI feedback, right? Like remove this section, add a section on this, and you can actually give it, to 1,000 characters here. So you have a lot of opportunity to give it a lot of detail about what you want. And then you get your own personalized kind of template for your meeting notes.
Does that transfer across other, like if I put that in one, does it apply to all of them?
You can, yeah. So if I update it, I can be like, make it more detailed. You can then apply it to all of your meetings going forward.
And then so that means that the general template for all your meetings moving forward from this point would have that prompt?
Correct.
So that's super fascinating. You don't currently expose the ability to mess with the prompt around the to-dos, do you?
No.
So I'm super curious.
The secret is there's not one prompt. There's a pipeline of like multiple prompts here. So there's not like a single thing.
So which makes total sense to me. So the idea that I came up with, because I've been thinking about this for a while, because I've had a couple of key misses. I'm one of those guys who over adopts, right? So I over adopted this to the point where I was relying on it for all of my tasks, and I still do. Like it will capture every single to do. So for me, if you had a toggle that said capture everything that you think it is, and maybe even give it a confidence score of like 1 to 10 as to whether or not this was a true task, like a maybe action items section, I'd turn that on in a heartbeat, because I'm missing stuff right now. And I've missed some really key introductions, sales follow-ups, like, because I'm completely like if you were talking about like, hey, Will, go walk the tightrope of not tracking any to-dos, just use Fathom. I've been doing that for the past year. And over the past year, here's the cool part. Only 4 or 5 times have I regretted it. Can you imagine how much I would have regretted it if it was halfway bad at all? Like I'd be regretting it almost every day.
It took us a long time to even build that feature for that reason. We're like, this has to be really good, right? Well, like before you can come to rely on it. And you'd rather have no solution here than something that's half right. 80
to 90% I can handle. And I'm even my automation brain's like, okay, I'm considering putting every single one of my transcripts through. Maybe it's a more advanced version of ChatGPT. Maybe it's more like, or defining a keyword. I was like, what if I could define a keyword that we used? And when that keyword was used or that phrase was used, we know that's a to-do.
This feature here is an example of like where we're moving towards, like, we want to make Fathom very hackable for folks like yourself, right? Like we actually see like a ton of great innovation come out of doing that, right? We're not trying to make this a closed system. We're trying to make we've got some really great default settings that get probably 95% of people what they want. But if you're in that 5% or 1% like yourself, like we want you to be able to kind of dig into it, monkey around with the levers and stuff like that, 100%. So cool. That's great feedback. One other thing I'll show me. So this is like individual meetings, right? So like you get this, like I said, 30 seconds after you get this whole thing, right at your fingertips, and change how I work. Sounds like it's change how you work too. It's like I don't look at the notes anymore. I just wait till I meet with this person again, and then I've got all this great content. I've got my actions through Zapier shipped off somewhere else. The other thing that's kind of cool, it's a little bit newer. So obviously you've got this library of all of your meetings, and then you've got a library of it's pretty funny right there. Demo office stuff, and then we've got a library of all of your team's meetings. So we have another product that sits on top of the free Fathom experience, which is called Team Edition. So if you want to use Fathom with your team, you can, and you can opt in to put your meetings, especially if they're like sales calls or customer calls, into kind of a shared repository. If you do that, you get some nice benefits where you can get alerts whenever certain things get said across any of your team's meetings, which we find managers really love. But the newest thing we added that I really like is this, which is if you connect this up to like HubSpot or Salesforce and you're running a sales team, you can actually get all of your deals. Basically, you can kind of see here's all the open deals. You can see all of them in Fathom, and you don't just get a summary on a meeting, you get a summary on a deal. And so this example, there's only one meeting, but you can imagine if there's like 4 or 5 meetings, here's a summary for the whole deal. Here's all the key people on this deal.
Oh my gosh.
And there's an Ask Fathom, there's a ChatGPT interface. If you want to know anything about this deal, you can ask a question about it.
Holy crap.
We just rolled this out like a month or 2 ago, and people have been going bananas for it. It's really cool.
That right there, all by itself, for what I'm doing, like that's cool. That's really
it's
cool.
really cool. You couldn't have done this with AI more than 6-9 months ago, right? It's kind of exciting. Like we're on the frontier of like, what can the latest LMs do? And great, now they can do it across 6-10 hours of content sort of thing. So it's pretty cool. Similarly,
where are you headed next? Like, what do you see as like the long-term vision here?
Yeah, I'm gonna stop and share them. I mean, that deal view is a good example. I'm gonna fix my lighting. That deal view is a good example of it, right? Which is, we've been focused on how do we do a great job for the person in the meeting. Find your action items. We're gonna get better action item detection. That's actually on the roadmap for Q1. Better summaries, give you more ways to hack it. But where I think the frontier now is, how do I help people that are not on the meetings find the moments that matter in it? If I'm a sales manager auditing deals or a founder auditing deals, you just saw that. We've also got a similar thing for folders. You can put any set of meetings, say you're in a research project, throw it all in a folder, you'll get a summary of all the meetings in the folder, you'll ask questions of it. The thing I'm really excited about that's coming, it's actually in internal alpha, is what we call like AI search or semantic search, where you can just tell Fathom, hey, I want to be alerted anytime there's like a heated discussion between my team. Or, hey, anytime there's a positive reaction in a sales call, I want to know. Anytime there's like a pricing conversation that didn't go well, I want to know.
So there's so many, we've been trying to capture what we call impact stories. That's where we as a company made an impact on the life of someone we're working with. So I run a company where we clone entrepreneurs. Like we've created an entrepreneurial cloning chamber, and people are like, what? My methodology is automate, delegate, eliminate. And so automation is one way that we do it. Delegation is the next. And we actually create young entrepreneur people who are curated. So only 3% of the people who apply actually make it in, and they become what we call an entrepreneur's apprentice. Well, the impact they have on these businesses is ginormous because they care. CEO level grit, VA level humility. That's really what we're selling, and we can help these companies grow like crazy. And so I'm like what you just described. I'm like, oh my gosh, tell me whether or not this was an impact story, or share with every time there's an impact story, or can I count this call as a connect call because I shared impact stories and I also asked for referrals. Right, like there's so many interesting metrics that are currently being tracked manually. That opens the door for.
I think this next year, 2025, it's going to create what you'll be able to do. Right, like our whole thesis has always been, if you want to build an AI first org, and I think we all do. Right, like one of my internal goals is like, how do we get to 100 million revenue with 100 employees? Right, and we're going to do that by having, to your point, extreme amounts of automation. Right, and you need good data to do that. And I think the biggest data set in most orgs is actually what's happening in their meetings. Just historically, that data is not even captured. If it's captured, it's just like a Google Drive somewhere. So how do we make that accessible so people can build automations on top of that? I have a team myself that's our BizOps team, which is similar profile. They're generally ex-founders, earlier, younger founders that come in and build out systems and processes for me. They're an extension. They are into basically the CEO's office, if you will. And it's really a high leverage headcount, right? Like it's amazing.
Yeah, it's unreal. And we've grown by like 800% in the last 6 months. And it's been so cool to go back and look at, like, whoa, look at how I was pitching in this call versus pitching in this call. Like I can actually compare how the value was being presented because of Fathom. It's freaking awesome.
Yep. That's awesome. Love to hear that. Yeah, I think, automation's always been powerful, but now what you could with Gen AI, it's like you have automation that makes judgments and decisions, right? In a way that you couldn't before. And that just, I think, is 10 to 100x the number of things you can automate. So I think
the human in the loop necessity has gone down dramatically. And now it's about teaching the AI to act like the human, right? How do you give enough instructions that, those idiosyncrasies that aren't documented get documented to the point where it's no longer a human needed?
100%. Yeah. I talk to our investors and say, like, look, it's usually as a software company, it's your engineering team. Right? It's all about how good your engineering team is. I think our ops team and how good we are at operationalizing all this AI stuff is as important as the product itself.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Richard, I appreciate your time on this episode. That wraps us. Any final words for our listeners around, the future of AI or tools or tips or tricks you want to share?
No, I think it's a really obviously exciting time to be an entrepreneur, to be building out software and systems. I know tons of my friends who are quasi-retired and been doing tech stuff. I'm now back in the game because it's such an exciting time. I also think it's such an exciting time for people who like challenging the status quo, right? Because there's never been a better time to be a first principles thinker, because all the existing processes that require a human in the middle or something like this are all quickly made irrelevant. And so you can kind of invent your whole new way to run a business now. And I think that's really exciting.
Amen. Well, that wraps us for this episode of Automation Hunter, and we'll go from there.